ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः सुष्ठुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्म उपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्यां मा ब्रह्म निराकरोद निराकरणमस्तु निराकरणं मेस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Namaste.
Namaste everyone and welcome to this webinar hosted by the American Academy of Yoga and Meditation. My name is Shri and I'll be your host today. For our new viewers who are joining us for the first time, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce you to the American Academy of Yoga and Meditation. AYM is a non-profit organization which is dedicated to education and research in the field of yoga and meditation and promoting and spreading the philosophies of holistic healing. Through this webinar series, we hope to spread the amazing benefits that yoga and meditation have to people around the world. Yogi Sarveshwarananda Giri is a French-born Kriya Yoga teacher. Welcome, Yogi Rajji.
Hari Om, Tajim. Thank you very much for this kind invitation.
Thank you. He is a founder of Hariharananda Mission in the USA and India, and he also founded the Arc of Love in South America. After practicing as a doctor in acupuncture, he followed the directive of his legendary Kriya master, Paramhamsa Hariharananda, and was given the name Swami Sarveshwarananda Giri. In 2009, Swami Sarveshwarananda renounced his monastic vows and entered the householder life again. He continues his service to his guru as an empowered yogacharya and priest, and he is now known as Yogi Sarveshwarananda Giri. An empowered yogacharya in the lineage of Babaji, Yogiji continuously travels around the globe teaching the spiritual science of Kriya Yoga, providing education and shelter to poor children, widows, and senior citizens in Latin America and in Himalayas. He also writes a series of books on wisdom tales, holy humor, metaphorical interpretations of the world scriptures, and on the philosophy, science, and practice of yoga. We welcome you, Yogi Rajji. I'll pass it now on to Yogi Rajji. Namaste.
Namaste and welcome, welcome. I am talking to you from the city, the beautiful city of 9 gates. I'm making reference to the Holy Bhagavad Gita, which says that we all live in a city which has 9 gates. 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, 1 mouth, 1 anus, and 1 urethra. In another great tantric work called the Tripura Rahasya, it mentions that we live in a city of 10 gates, and the 10th one is the 7th chakra, the fontanelle. And this is the universal description of the human condition. We live in a form, we live in a house which has different gates or openings, you could say, which give us no end of trouble and illusion and delusion and misery, because we think that what we perceive through these different gates is the truth. And here's the surprise, it is not. It is what we believe to be the truth. For instance, I'm going to show you how this whole city is controlled. I'm going to show you, for instance, the famous system by which our entire, there we go, knowledge process is controlled. They are the famous 12 cranial nerves, okay? Out of 12 cranial nerves, 11 control everything that has to do from the neck up to the top of the head. And the 12 is the largest, it's called the vagus nerve. That's the one that connects with the digestive system and the internal organs. Now, in yoga, we recognize that this is the engine of delusion. They are extremely powerful nerves, and they control absolutely everything that we think, we perceive, and what we base our decisions on. Unfortunately, these decisions are very badly informed. And what Kriya Yoga does, Kriya Yoga is known as the mother of all yogas. It's the most ancient form of meditation that comes out of the Himalayas originally, from time immemorial. But what Kriya Yoga does, it takes a very scientific, spiritual approach to resolving this problem of living with senses that are not functioning well, and with a mind that becomes wrongly identified with its perceptions. So there are 2 ways to correct this this problem of incorrect perception of the world, and therefore of its problems, and therefore of its solutions. One is to remember constantly, and that is a practice, that there is something within me that is seeing, not I, not the limited little self, but there is a presence. There is what we call a sakshi bhava, a witnessing consciousness that is operating silently, invisibly, and that is giving us the power to see, to feel, to think, to talk, to act, to learn from our different human experiences. That is one practice. It takes a very high level of consciousness to be able to constantly remind ourselves of this and realize it. A second technique, and I would not say that it's a different one, I would say they are actually totally complementary, is a sadhana, a spiritual practice to constantly purify the different systems, the different structures of the egoic mind, okay, which makes us confuse the reflection from the truth, for instance. And that is where Kriya Yoga comes in. Kriya Yoga actually combines both. This ability to constantly reflect on who is the doer, who is the real doer behind every action, thought, impression, sensory activity, and how to constantly purify my inner instruments so that I gradually perceive a clearer and clearer picture. And it is possible. And I'll tell you, in my own experience, when I started practicing more than 30 years ago, I was very miserable. I was chronically depressed. I was atheist. I was anarchist. I was extremely angry, rebellious. But I went to a conference that said that Kriya Yoga can purify all your different systems and give you access to a normal level of serotonin. So that got my attention, because a chronically depressed person, that is exactly the neurotransmitter that is not functioning. So only for that reason, not for finding God or anything, I decided to start practicing Kriya Yoga. And boy, did I get my serotonin back. That depression has gone more than 35 years. It has not returned completely. But there were some other things. I also started to experience something I'd never experienced before, which is joy, which is an incredible sense of belonging to an intelligent, loving universe and being part of it, and having a responsibility to collaborate with this beautiful universal life force, which gradually I came to know as God. But in those days, being atheist, I didn't have a vocabulary for it. It doesn't matter. I call it prana. Okay, it's the same thing, mahaprana. So through the practice of Kriya Yoga, I was able to gradually cure a very profound lack of connection, okay, with myself, with my family, with society, with the world. And that's when I started to realize that Kriya Yoga is actually much more than a practice where you breathe and you do some postures and you learn how to concentrate the mind. It is really a spiritual science, okay? It is a science in the sense that it is a systematic methodology to help you investigate the nature of reality, which should be, I'm saying should, maybe it's not today, not so much, but it should be exactly the definition of modern science today. And fortunately, one thing that has started to happen is that there's a fundamentalism that is starting to permeate every aspect of our cognitive models, including economics, governance, medicine, science, and we start to rely more and more and exclusively on a reductionist model of investigating the truth. And we start to develop strong defenses and very narrow point of views, and we lose gradually the ability to learn from other points of view. So what I'm proposing is that through the practice of a spiritual science, we learn to reconnect not just with the reductionist model of science, but also the holistic model of science. Both of them exist. Both of them are necessary. So holistic means taking into account the great picture. Everything is correlated, okay? Everything is related. Now, why do I call Kriya Yoga, and why do my masters, that you can see here behind me, the lineage of Kriya Yoga masters, have always called Kriya Yoga a spiritual science? Well, if you practice exactly the technique that you receive from an empowered yogacharya, like myself, you will get exactly the precise transformation that every person can achieve in their own lifetime. But everybody has a different timetable. Everybody has a different model of spiritual evolution, and they will need to overcome different obstacles due to their karma. So one thing that's very important when we enter into the spiritual path, never compare ourselves with other people's progress, other people's experiences, because it becomes very frustrating, very confusing. We concentrate on our own work, and that's quite enough. Now, I don't have time to explain all the different scientific aspects of Kriya Yoga in this very short presentation. I'll just take one example, maybe. In Kriya Yoga, first, there is a preparation. Before we can go straight from the agitation of the worldly life and sit down and know the secret of the soul, we need to do a series of stepping down the energy, okay? And converting our outward going or centrifugal life force into a centripetal or inward going movement of energy. So for these, there are different techniques. One of the universal technique that you will find, not just in Kriya Yoga, in every spiritual practice, in every religion, in fact, there's a practice of bowing down. Okay, you can recognize it in Christianity, in Islam, in Buddhism, in Judaism, in Hinduism. In every religion, there is at some point of the ritual of the connection with the higher self, the act of bowing. Well, this has very profound psychological, physiological, spiritual effects. In fact, it is the first technique of Kriya Yoga. We have 7 techniques in Kriya Yoga, and it is said that it's the most powerful. And this is the good news for people who don't have so much time, because many people think, oh, it sounds so great, Swamiji, but I don't have an hour, per day to practice a spiritual technique of transformation. Well, the first technique, which is the most powerful, the most important, takes 5 minutes. And you could just do that. And you already get into the train, okay, of self-transformation. The more techniques you practice, the deeper your journey, obviously. But if you don't have so much time, relax. Just practice a little bit, but at least practice the bow. And I will explain to you what physiologically happens with the practice of the bow. The spine is considered the cerebrospinal system is considered the most important structure in the human life. In the embryo, it starts happening after the 4th week. There's a little tube that starts appearing, and inside there's another tube, and inside there's another tube, and different frequencies starts to emerge from this very basic primary structure that will gradually form organs and body parts and senses. And the development of the fetus basically starts from this little tube. Now, today, we still have this tube. It is fully developed, but in a dormant stage. And this is what Kriya Yoga helps us, is to awaken the dormant energy that is sleeping, you could say, in this tube. It is fully formed, but not utilized. The first technique of bowing is called magnetization of the spine, for instance. You could think of an experiment. For instance, you would take a piece of paper. I'm sure you've all done that at school. And on your piece of paper, you put some iron filings. You just drop them on top of your piece of paper, some iron filings. What happens? Nothing. Chaos. Okay? They spread just about anywhere. But if you take a magnet and you put it under your sheet of paper, you will see that now all these iron filings start to organize themselves according to an axis, north-south, with some concentric cycles, okay? Well, this is exactly what happens during the process of the first technique, which is bowing down. You start to align yourself. All your chaotic thoughts, propensities, energies, emotions, beliefs that are spread in so many different directions start to organize themselves. They start to align themselves according to a north-south pole. And you very tangibly feel the difference when you're starting to realign with that. That is what transformed me, for instance, from an angry, ignorant, miserable atheist into someone who is much happier and a believer today. My conversion never happened through a baptism or reading a book or hearing a lecture. It happened through a very profound spiritual practice that allows me to feel that there is a sense in this universe, that this body is connected with all bodies, that there is a very profound purpose for this existence. Now, the first technique, which is bowing down, also has different effects. The spine is made of a stack of vertebrae, one on top of the other. And in between each vertebrae, there are a little cushion of cartilage. Now, with age, this cushion of cartilage starts to compress. And gradually, we lose the ability of distributing enough nerve energy to the rest of our body, because out of these little intersections between each vertebrae comes out some afferent nerves that feed every organ, every tissue, every group of our different systems. But gradually we cut off this powerful nerve energy, or life force energy, we could call it also. And we start to live with some, maybe 50%, or in some cases 20% reserve. So when we bow, we keep the bottom of our buttocks on the floor, and we lean forward and we try to bring the forehead to the ground. This effect has the effect of lengthening the spine by about 10 to 12 centimeters or 15 centimeters in some cases, which creates an enormous release of energy, which finally can flow again. It liberates the trapped energy that was between the different vertebrae. So it's a profound refreshment. Another purpose of and benefit of practicing the bow is, at some point we will turn the head. We'll turn actually the whole half body on one side. First, connecting the right ear on the right knee. You can do it with me as you like. I will guide you. You lean forward. You can sit cross-legged, or you can kneel on the floor if it's easier for you. You go and you bring the right ear on the right knee and the left arm behind the back. And the effect is to elevate the left shoulder. Feel something? What is happening in this position is you're starting to energize the left brain. You know, we have two hemispheres in the brain. The left brain is the more rational brain. So here you start to energize it with more prana, with more life force. And you start to purify this particular aspect of the rational brain, or the verbal brain, or the decision-making brain. And then you come to the center. And now you concentrate your mind in the life force activating the backside of the brain. And the backside of the brain is known as the limbic system, or the medulla oblongata, which is the more emotional part of the brain. Then you'll gradually take a turn to the left, and you will try to bring your left ear next to your left knee, the right arm behind the back, lifting up the shoulder, right shoulder. And now you start to feel some energy accumulating in the right side of the brain. And this brain is very different. It has a more holistic function. It is the brain of the poet, the brain of music, images, rhythm. Um, this this type of holistic vision of the world. Then you come back to the center, and now you will go through the ladder of consciousness with your attention. First in the seventh chakra, feeling the life force there. Then in the pituitary, feeling the life force. Then in the throat, feeling the life force. Then in the heart, feeling the life force. Then in the stomach, feeling the life force, the sound, the light, the vibration. Then in the second chakra, sound, light, vibration. Then in the bottom of the spine, sound, light, vibration. Then you'll inhale from, and you reverse the flow from the bottom of the spine to the top of the head. You slowly sit up straight, and you observe the results. This basically is the first practice of Kriya Yoga. There are 7 practices. I do not have time to show all of them, but hopefully with a little bit that I was sharing with you, you already feel that yes, it is possible to go from a state of agitation and chaos to a state of alignment and love and joy in just a few minutes. And now the challenge that I'm offering you is do it every day. Build your peace every day and maintain it. And that is the purpose of this beautiful incarnation that we have received. And then you will learn to live happily and freely in your city of 9 gates or 10 gates. Thank you very much. That is all the time I have for. Namaste. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Swamiji. It was really a wonderful discourse we had today. For enlightening us with your knowledge of Kriya Yoga, your discourse was so engaging, and we learned a lot from it. From your talk, I really learned, as I told you when I was talking to you, that I don't know anything about Kriya Yoga, and like me, many people, they must have learned today that how Kriya Yoga is important. Kriya Yoga is really the mother of all meditation. It is so interesting that such a simple action as bowing down has such a major effect on the person. And I really liked your analogy of the iron filings. I also love your saying outer peace can be achieved through inner transformation. I really think that we all learned today new way of how to do meditation, how to improve ourselves, and how to take first step towards Kriya Yoga. Once again, I thank you so much for joining us today. And I also want to take 1 minute to tell that our tech team, Santoshji and Chaitanyaji, also our coordinator, Rupaji, without whom this webinar would have not been possible. For our viewers, thank you so much all for watching us today and joining us today. We really hope that you learned a lot today. Our next webinar is a discourse on mindful eating and how we can use our food to drastically improve our lifestyle. This workshop is actually starting right now, and for more details, you can always visit our website. Thank you all so much for coming, and thank you, Swamiji, for everything, for teaching us Kriya Yoga and telling us how to start first step towards it. Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste. Be happy.
Thank you.